Hey, and welcome back. We're on day 20 of the 30-day upload challenge. Might be a little noisy out here. I don't have any microphones on me. I'm just wrapping up day 19. I filmed day 20's video today. It's real personal. Had a lot of impact. It just kind of came out. I hadn't really planned on filming this video, but it just kind of came out doing today, so I made it its own separate video. So I'm not going to babble a lot. There's a lot to absorb. And enjoy day 20. Let's go. All right. Well, let's talk about today's topic. And it's very personal for a lot of people. Let's talk about sobriety. First, let me just say this. I'm 54. I've been sober for the best I can figure 16 years. There is no red letter date to me, no celebratory anniversary. That's not who I am, never have been. And I'll explain a little bit more of that later in the video. But um, first, let me say I am not a sober specialist. My advice is purely my opinion. I do not encourage anybody to do it the way I did it. Um, if you're going to kick sobriety, if you're going to kick an addiction, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, I am the exception to the rule 100%. So if you're looking for help, there's plenty of resources out there. Just Google anything or the good old go to find an AA meeting. There are millions of them. If you need to go to one, go find one and go. Do it right now. There is no reason to wait. There is no reason to hope. There is no reason to schedule it. Get in your car, bus, city, taxi, Uber, and go to a meeting. I guarantee you can find one anywhere within the next couple hours. There'll be a meeting. So that's my best advice for the moment. But let's get into talking about sobriety. So I guess for me, the only way I can really give you the background into it for me is where it all started. And it's easy for me to digest third party, on Monday morning quarterback, look at it at my age now with many years under my belt and kind of see all the pieces that led to what brought me to where I was. Um, my father owned bars. I was around it a bit. I think I even had a couple of my birthday parties in one of his bars. So there was always the allure of it was a good thing. Um, I remember in my mid-teen years, I would go to his bar and watch bands play, and sit in a booth, and they'd bring me potato skins and whatever, and I'd sit there and drink Coca Cola and look at all these people, drinking at a bar and having a good time, and I think that's kind of where it related in my brain a little bit. Um, I can clearly remember the first time I drank. I was in my first year of high school, I think. Um, but I remember specifically my parents were out of town. My father had a lot of liquor in our garage stored from one of the bars. My brother threw a party, and I went to my friends, and we sat in a treehouse and camped out in the treehouse. And one of the guys got a pack of cigarettes, which none of us had smoked. And I brought a bottle of, I believe, peach schnapps or something to that effect. Maybe it was mint schnapps or something. I remember us sitting there drinking it, going, "Okay, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen?" You know, waiting for the effect that you didn't know it was going to happen. And it was schnapps. There was no effect. So, um, or it could have been something else, or like a triple sec or something like that. Something that had no effect on it. So, anyways, I do remember that, and then equating social acceptance with drinking. When I went to high school, my second and third years, I had gone to public school. I've been in private school all the way up until then. And the high school that I went to, Winter Park High School, man, you could find a party every Friday night. There was something somewhere big. And it was either at somebody's house or a dirt road, but there was always a party. And I was never a very socially comfortable kid. Girls were this terrifying thing in my life that I was awkward, and I didn't understand them, and I was afraid to approach them. But as we went to these parties, I started to figure out, hey, if I have a couple beers, all of a sudden all of that awkwardness kind of goes away, and I think I'm more acceptable and I'm more comfortable. So we always had the ability to buy beer, or I was able to get it from one of my dad's bars. I worked there on the weekends, and I was able to, go into a stock room and grab a case of Bud Long Necks or something. So we always had accessibility to it. So through high school, I just had kind of developed the, hey, this is a tool that I need to be acceptable. We would go to the local cruise spot, and make sure we had beer. We'd hide off, drink a couple quick beers, hide the beer in the woods, and then go down and cruise the strip and turn around and come back. And that in my mind opened up the fact that okay, drinking and driving's okay, as long as you're responsible. And again, that relates back to I think things I learned. I remember my dad driving in the car with literally a glass of scotch in the cup holder of his Cadillac. Um, just remember, oh no, it's okay as long as you're responsible. So fast forward to a lot of developing years into my 20s when I was actually legal to drink, and my father had passed away. I was unchained on my own to do whatever I wanted, as you should be at that age. But I wasn't responsible back then. So parties turned into bigger parties, or it's turned into going out as an adult, um, going to after parties, working in bars until late at night, and there would be after hours bars that catered to people in the hospitality industry. I remember driving home, sun's coming up, and I'm hammered. And I think that's probably when things for me started drinking to massive excess. That if you're going to drink, drink all the way. Why do it partly? Why do it partially? Why do it half-ass? So that really changed my ability to drink, uh, drink in excess, and there was no shame in getting tore down. However, you survived, you survived. So fast forward through my 20s into my 30s, where now I have financial means. I'm traveling the country as a rep for a company, and I'm taking people to dinner and to lunches. I have freedom of a company expense account, um, and that's when the volume really turned up. One thing I love, and I will tell you to this day, it's the only time I get tempted is traveling and flying. I love sitting in first class, drinking on an airplane. There's nothing better. It is just something to me that just all clicks. Uh, and that's the only time, even to today, I fly first class. I don't sit in the back, and I have a hard time when they come by and you order yourself a drink. It's the only time it really tugs at me to want to have one. Um, so speed along to uh, later in life. I've got home responsibilities. Um, I'm married to my first wife at the time. 2007, 8 comes along, and the financial world, pretty much crushed the boat world. And I lost my job. I mean, and there were no jobs in my industry. They all just disappeared. Um, Combine the pressures of a failing marriage with a difficult time financially, not finding my stride anymore, and a job that I've lost my identity to, um, and having to do jobs that I just didn't like. Um, it was a difficult time for me, and the best way to put away that pain slash discomfort was drinking. I will tell you right now, and I've said it to the most important people in my life, drinking probably destroyed my first marriage. 100%. I take that responsibility. Um, I was not a good person, and I started to change as those pressures of those years continued. I was not a pleasant drinker. Uh, I had a habit of doing things that were not my norm as far as arrogance. I was 10 feet tall, and nothing could tell me otherwise. There was nothing I couldn't buy, do, say, or get away with because I had the shield of that drinking environment around me. And I think that goes back to high school, to that social acceptance where when I drank, it put me in that confidence zone. Now you take that confidence zone and increase it with a lot of alcohol. Now it turned into an arrogant asshole. So this is when things probably got the most difficult for me, where I was drinking in excess, not happy with the job I was at or slash relationship I was in, and it snowballed. Uh, back up a few years before I was married. Um, my arrogance was huge back then. I got pulled over and got a DUI, charged with a DUI. And back then I was making, pretty significant money. Screw it. I'll buy my way out of it. What do I care? 30 something $1,000s later and a fantastic attorney. Yeah, we beat it. So that probably didn't help the arrogance of it in that respect. So fast forward to I'm drinking, realizing I now have lost the ability to just have one. Whatever self control I used to have is long gone. One turns into 20 instantly and at a very fast, quick pace. So I had realized at that point I didn't have the ability to not just pound them away. There is no just have a couple beers in my book, even to today. Never going to happen. Which is why I don't drink because I don't have that throttling ability to just regulate. So I'm now self aware of that problem, and there's a couple key instances where it really drove itself home. Ironically, both of them involve Las Vegas. Um, One point, I went out on a Friday night, um, and this is when I probably had my first significant loss of memory. Um, I woke up in Las Vegas. I didn't plan on going to Las Vegas. I guess in my I'm 10 foot tall, I can do anything lifestyle. Um, I don't know what brought it on, how, what, or where, but uh, I went to Las Vegas. Don't remember getting there. Don't remember going. Don't remember packing the bag that I had. I have no idea how I got there, other than the fact that I got there. Um, Second incident involved me going to Las Vegas. Um, I was living in Sarasota at the time, and I flew out of Tampa. So it was a August month summer flight. Anybody knows Florida, the weather can be a little bit rough here in the summertime. So I flew out of Tampa, and the flights were delayed for thunderstorms. So it was a Tampa. Wow, really getting a bumpy road here. It was Tampa to Houston, change planes, Houston to Las Vegas, and I'm flying first class. And I was sitting in the airport bar because my flight was delayed, and I can clearly remember it was a Mexican cantina inside the Tampa airport, and there was a tall beer, draft beer slash tequila shot special, and I'm just pounding those things down. And probably a 2 hour delay. So by the time I sit down on the plane in first class, the girl comes by. Can I get you a drink? Absolutely. And I think I was drinking Crown on the rocks, chasing it with a beer at that point. Um, I don't remember changing planes in Houston. I don't remember getting to Las Vegas. Um, there's a brief glimpse of memory uh, of the rental car toll booth when you left the parking lot. You had to show who you were leaving. Um, Really cool. I'm actually looking at as we're talking. Air Force One is flying out over Washington D.C. I'm in D.C. on the highway. Pretty cool. Um, Anyways, I wake up at the MGM with keys to a white Ford sedan, Taurus, Ford 500, whatever it was back then, and I got no idea how I got there. No idea who gave me the car. Um, no idea where the car is. So I'm walking around parking garage in Las Vegas, clicking the panic button on this key fob, hoping I can set the alarm off for the car to find it. As a security guy comes around in a golf cart, he's like, "Hey, did you lose your car?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Hop in, we'll find it." And I realized how much of a bad decision that could have been because I don't know what the car looks like. What I hit with it? Is there a kid's bicycle wrapped around the front of it? I don't know. So luckily, by some amazing God's grace, there was nothing wrong with the car and I didn't hit anything. What I drove over or whatever, I don't know, but curbs, bushes, who knows? But I think that was the moment, those two combined moments, I realized, all right, you're out of control. And I think I had made some vain attempts at trying to throttle it back, but just uncomfortableness in life was still needing that masking, that drinking, that put away that discomfort and pain. Um, and it was difficult, but there's no aha moment of like this is the day I decided to quit. I think the phrase that works out best for me is I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. It was destroying me physically. Like, I mean, every day feeling just wrecked, head hurting, sitting in the shower for 30 minutes trying to steam the discomfort and hangover out of me. And it had gotten to the point where I was justifying drinking in the morning out of bed to kick the hangover out of my brain, which only just continued the drunk. So there was probably a course of a few months where I was drunk around the clock, or at least had a significant amount of alcohol in my system because I was kicking the can down the road from the hangover. And I think that's truly when I became self-reflective by going, you've lost it. You're done. You've completely lost the ability to regulate and control yourself. Um, and I quit. I made the decision. This is not a life choice I want anymore, and I quit. There is no treatment program. There is no books, videos, mentors, sponsors. I just decided to grunt it out and quit. And I think that I was just stubborn enough that I just had known that this is now hindering my life and I no longer want this in my life anymore. And it became a clarity moment. And feeling better overwhelmed the ability to drink or the challenge to drink or the desire to drink because I enjoyed feeling good. I enjoyed not feeling uncomfortable and sick and blowing your ass out on the toilet or if your stomach just is shredded from the night before. I embraced the fact that I felt good. Um, and I didn't trade any vices for it. Um, so I guess, what really became the challenge going forward was just finding the ways to just be comfortable with my decision and feel good about my decision. Okay, Air Force One again, circling over me. This is pretty incredible. I think they're doing touch and goes. All right, I'm back. If you don't know, I mean, I love aviation. I love planes. Um, just kind of cool to see a 747, especially Air Force One, which I don't see very often. I'm sure it's common up here in DC, but I think that was the primary and the spare actually landing. I don't think it was one plane doing touch and goes, but anyways, let me pick up where I left off. So the desire to not drink overrode the challenge or the desire or the temptation. Um, and then it kind of became almost a matter of stubbornness for me to not drink because I made the commitment. And then it became more of a challenge of the fact like I got a month under my belt, I got 2 months under my belt, I got a year under my belt, I got multiple years under my belt. And then it was just like there's no way I could deal with the guilt of going backwards on a decision that I had made that was so significant. Until that guilt or that feeling of I would be feeling guilty if I did anything just became an accepted part of my life. It's not on my radar. It's not something I do. Now, do I purposely avoid certain situations? 100%. I do not put myself in situations where socially people are drinking around me to excess. I can go to a dinner and be around people that are drunk, but anything beyond that, I won't go to a bar. I won't go to parties. Um, and now it's turned to I can't stand drunk people. That's such a hypocrite. That makes me such a hypocrite because I guarantee you there are gazillions of embarrassing stories I can tell you that I remember that I was just some slobbering drunk and people tolerated me. So uh, definitely the coin is flipped on that. But I don't want to glamorize it. I don't want to make it look like a lifestyle of interest. But hey, drinking, I had a lot of fun. I did a lot of amazing things. Could I have done those things sober? Sure. Um, but that mask of social acceptance probably was the driver of most of those things. Um, it made me a magnified version of myself. And I think you'll hear, alcoholic experts say that it just magnifies who you are in good and bad ways. Um, I could never let anybody pick up a tab when I was drinking. Probably today, I'm still the same way, sober. But I was probably more of a jerk about it back then. Than forcing people, have another drink, have another drink, have another drink, or buying rounds for a bar. Guilty of that one. Um, so again, for me, it was just a lifestyle change. It was just something I decided I'm not doing anymore because it's not a value add to my life. And that's the way I look at things nowadays is, does it make me a better person? Does it improve the people around me? And does it move me forward to my end goals in life? And I've kind of applied that filter to everything in life now. Um, Again, I am the exception to the rule. Um, Kicking a habit, kicking an addiction is a very, very, very difficult thing. Um, I have a dear friend that quit drinking from excess, probably around the same time I did. And he went through a much more difficult time physically, not drinking. He had withdrawal symptoms. Um, I didn't. Um, Mine was more of a headspace game than a physical game. But um, so, yeah, that's my story. I mean, sure, you could pick that apart a million ways and we could talk about this for hours. Um, but, again, my problems stemmed from social acceptance and manifested themselves into just bigger problems through life. Now, where I think that is now a value add to my life is it has given me the ability to sniff out a rat. And I say that in respect to 11-year-old stepson. I am on this kid, on him. I can smoke him out. I can see when he's being deceptive. I can see that he's already at 11 years old, susceptible to social pressures. Um, I believe that God has put me in this place at this time in this kid's life to guide him and carry him through those challenges that I went through because I didn't have that guidance. My parents had pretty much checked out at that point. They weren't, they had their own drama in life. They weren't focused on me. And I was a master at slipping through the cracks, which I start to see this kid doing now. Um, so is there a value add to all of those years that I went through? The loss of whatever I lost, socially acceptable, whatever. It's given me a toolbox. And I think that I'm here to watch this kid. I think I'm here to carry him through those years that I went through with no guidance. And I think God has blessed me backwards in a kind of a weird way. Uh, the things I endured and went through that I put myself through have just given me, the ability to have a clear vision. Um, I've helped some people, had talks with them about drinking and drugs and all that, and I'm not the guy because I'm just going to tell you flat out, you're weak. You're weak, and you're just destroying people's lives around you. And suck it up, be a man, pull up your pants, and move on, and do the right thing. I am not the soft, touchy feely. You need counseling. I'm going to tell you you're weak and you're destroying people, and it's your responsibility. So again, I am not a professional. I am not somebody that should be giving sobering sobriety advice. Again, I highly encourage you, if you have a problem and you're seeing this, go find a meeting. You can do it right now. There is a meeting near you right now. I guarantee it. Get yourself in an environment around people who are in that same mindset. and you're going to find comfort in the fact that you're in a room full of people who are in the same situation as you, and that will give you some clarity. It'll give you some moments of peace from the demon that you're fighting in your head, and it will bring you to a place where you can find the path where you need to move forward. There's tools out there. There's a million people like me who have done it, and it's worth the change. It's worth the fight. Drugs and alcohol are not the answer. They're only going to take you down a path you don't need to go down. Um, I highly encourage you, um, reach out to somebody. You got a problem. There's no shame in it, and you don't have to do it around the people you know. There's gazillions. Hey, Alcoholics Anonymous. That's the whole point of it. Anonymous. If you got to hide it and you have a problem you've kept under the wraps for years, anonymous. You don't got to go to confession. Go find a meeting. I encourage it. I will. I'll throw a link in the description to AA and a resource where you can find your local meeting. If you got a problem, click on it. I'm not affiliated with them. Got nothing to do with them, but it is a good tool. So that's my story. I hope you find it interesting, inspirational, or laughable. I don't know, whatever it brings you. I hope it brings you some strength. So there's my story.